I asked them if they get...
Abe Foxman's spokesman, Ari O'Sullivan, was the last person I expected to see at the event. What was he doing here?
Look, Abe, they mentioned the ADL a couple of times in their talks, and like I told you, they were false, these things. And I went up to Walt, but he was surrounded with people. I said, listen, I'm from ADL, Ari O'Sullivan, and those two things you said about the ADL are incorrect. I got a lot of interest from the foreign press. I don't know about the Israeli media, though. Was it the Israeli media here? אני מהליגה נגד השמצה. זה שהזכירו כל הזמן, ה-ADL, ה-ADL.
אתה מהליגה.
אני הדובר של הליגה. מי אתה?
דובר בארץ?
כן, אתה מגוש.
אני מגוש שלו?
למה הבאתם אותו?
את מי?
את שניהם.
זאת אומרת, למה הבאנו אותו? אנחנו חושבים שמה שהאנשים האלה עושים זה פשוט פעולה הכי מבורכת שיכולה להיות. לא לגבי השמצה או לא השמצה. לגבי אי פעם להגיע למצב נורמלי ומאוזן באזור הזה.
יש לכם כסף להביא אנשים כאלה פה? כי אמרו לי שגוש שלום זה ארגון קטן, שולי כזה.
גוש שלום זה ארגון קטן. אבל את הקצת כסף שיש לו, הוא מנצל לדברים החשובים ביותר. והדברים החשובים ביותר זה להגיע סוף סוף אי פעם לאיזשהו פיוס בין הפלסטינים לבין היהודים במזרח התיכון. והדרך היחידה לעשות את זה, זה לגרום שהמדיניות של מי שתומך בישראל, לא משנה מה היא עושה, שהמדיניות הזאת תתחיל להיות קצת יותר נורמלית. זה לא מקרה שהאנשים האלה הוציאו ספר שכל העולם רעש ורגש בגללו.
I don't know if the whole world was shaken by Walter Mearsheimer's book, but the Jewish establishment certainly was.
Why do two such established, credentials, respected academics engage in such a shoddy piece of work on what subject?
At the annual ADL convention, the Israeli lobby book was the center of attention. In the Foreign Office in Israel, there was a 3-day convention dealing mostly with the issues raised in the book The Israeli Lobby. Never before had the question of whether anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are the same thing seemed so important. Experts and speakers from all over the world said the same thing, that those who attack Israel are doing so simply because they are anti-Semites in disguise.
We thought people who would hate us, who would be our enemies, would be thugs and lunatics yelling kike, and instead they're soft-spoken college professors explaining to us how we have the apartheid state. We were unprepared. So let this conference draw a line in the sand. If you're an enemy of the Jewish people, then we will fight you with all our might, for ourselves and for our children and for our children's children. Who would we be if we did not? And we will prevail.
After 3 days, something happened which was more or less the equivalent of a bomb being thrown into the room.
If you came down from space, you would think, having looked at this conference, that there was absolutely no problem in the West Bank or in Gaza. One element of the reason why so many people around the world are angry with Israel is because of the continuing settlement and occupation of Palestinian land, and because Israel, which has state power, has not done enough to end the occupation. One of the reasons. Such an occupation cannot be sustained without racism, without violence, and without humiliation against the people who are occupied. Thank you.
I don't get it. I just don't get it unless you were ironic.
David,
Yes.
we appreciate your work. We invited you to speak.
Yes.
But what you did today was a kind of preaching about looking for human rights that we don't have. This is more or less what you said.
There are problems with human rights in the
We don't
territory.
say
It's
that.
insinuative.
What do you say?
No,
Not
I
only
choose
that.
to say something which has not yet been said by everybody.
Just
It's
for
very
the
simple.
provocation?
No, not for the provocation, because Palestine was not mentioned
It was
in this
mentioned
conference.
all
Not
over.
once, maybe by Gil.
It was mentioned
It was mentioned yesterday as
over.
Palestine is the
All
anti-nation, Palestine is the one unique nation which doesn't have the right to exist. It was mentioned...
No, no one said that.
Come
on, no one said it.
Gerstenfeld said it. Palestine is the anti-nation. What do you think that means? And where do you think that terminology comes from, the anti-nation?
What you were saying is that anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are two different things.
They are two different things.
Sometimes they are the same thing.
And it's kind of ironic, really, that I was seen by some people as a sort of wild-eyed radical, because where I come from, I'm denounced as a right-wing, neocon, Israeli-supporting, anti-Palestinian racist.
What does it say about this conference then?
Well, it says about this conference that there were some hard right-wingers there. There you go. Nobody in this conference was balanced, not one.
I don't think so.
Speaking with David Hirsch made me realize that it is very difficult to represent any other approach in the Jewish world. Those who try to say anything different are being silenced.
And Dina has a go at me for not being balanced.
You're hinted too much. You were not explicit enough.
Should have more defined what I meant.
Hirsch was right. The occupation as a possible reason for justified criticism was not mentioned. Many Jewish people see anti-Semitism as a force of nature. It has always been there and will always be there. It will just take on different shapes and forms. I find this difficult to accept.
This is a conference about people around the world blaming Jews as the worst human rights violators on the planet. And the people who support Israel are now under attack as supporting the colonialist apartheid state of Israel. This is a warrant for attack on Jewish people.
It is internationally recognized that anti-Zionism is sometimes anti-Semitism.
You know what?
And who
as an Israeli, this is the only thing that gives me hope, to differentiate these two.
Why?
Because otherwise there is no hope. Otherwise, this is a doomed.
But this is closing your eyes.
This is a doomed,
You're right.
fatalistic
But
approach,
you're closing your
which
eyes.
gives us no hope at all.
But you see what he's doing? He's doing exactly he has the problem of the left. And here's the problem. Here's the problem. You.
Yeah.
This analysis. This is just like the wife who's beaten by her husband, who goes to the psychiatrist and she says, it must be something I did, because if it's not something I did, then it's hopeless. Then he's a madman. Well, you need to find something you did to cause the hatred against you. But guess what? It's nothing that you did, and it's too bad. You are in chaos, and the world is dangerous. And Islamism, funded by the Saudis, is teaching gazillions of people around the world that you are evil before you came to Israel. So this is your problem. You're exactly right, and you don't want that to be true.
Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just naive. Maybe all those people who criticize Israel really are anti-Semites in disguise. I'm heading to Chicago to speak with John Mearsheimer, co-author of the Israeli Lobby. I hope to have the courage to ask him if he is really an anti-Semite in disguise. But did you took a few minutes to question yourself when you've been blamed as being anti-Semite? Did you try to think about it between yourself and yourself, I don't know if you have this expression, within yourself, did you take some moment to think maybe some of it was influenced by something which is, could be interpreted as anti-Semitism?
No, because I'm not anti-Semitic, and I never had any doubt that I wasn't anti-Semitic, and I just didn't see any need to do this. My arguments are not in any way, shape, or form hostile to Jews or hostile to the State of Israel. And in fact, Steve Walt and I go to great lengths in the books to make in the book and in the article to make the case that we think the lobby's policies are not in Israel's interest or in America's interest. And we believe that the policies that we're pushing and the arguments that we're making are better for Israel and better for the United States. Now, one can disagree with that, but those arguments that we're making are not anti-Semitic, and we're not anti-Semites. Of course, it's almost impossible to prove that you're not an anti-Semite, which is one reason that this charge is so effective. I mean, how does one say I'm not anti-Semitic and convince people who say you are.
My best friend is
Right, that's what you end up saying, that my best friends are Jews. And some of my best friends are Jews, and of course this is not a very convincing argument. In fact, it's an argument that's almost guaranteed to lose. There's no question that anti-Semitism has been a poisonous and potent phenomenon over time. And there's no question that someone like Abe Foxman, who grew up as an infant and a young boy in Europe during the Holocaust, is going to be affected by that history of anti-Semitism.
They say that eventually it's bad for Israel as well, not only for the United States, but this policy eventually will be bad for Israel as well.
But that's not their goddamn business.